Cool cucumber.
Cool cucumber.
Cool cucumber.
Welcome to Cool Cucumber TV.
First cucumbers, Rihanna Von Soul.
Hello and welcome to the 27th sparkling edition of Cool Cucumber TV. We start with a piece of Italy and the Caffe Caldesi in London's Marylebone, and then on to Austria with Wolfgang Puck, talking about his early life and his fabulous success in the USA. We return briefly to London, where Sriram Aylur tells us why beer is good for you and for his Indian restaurant, Quilon, before shooting off to England's northeast and the McCoy brothers, Tontine in Cleveland. We look at a batch of new books from Penguin, and finally, Alyn Williams shows us a wonderful lamb dish from the menu at his restaurant in the Westbury in London's Bond Street. Before we start, congratulations to Simon Rogan, whose Cumbrian restaurant, L'Enclume, was featured in programme 23. L'Enclume achieved a very rare score of 10 out of 10 in the new Good Food Guide, and we think it's well deserved.
We're running.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
John Carlo.
Yes.
How long have you been here now?
In this place, 11 years actually. 10, nearly 11, yeah, 11 years.
So very much part of the establishment of the area.
I've been in the area for about 18 years now.
Where were you before?
Number 15 to 17.
Okay.
We had a restaurant called Caldesi Tuscan restaurant.
Of course, because you're from Tuscany.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a real Tuscan. Not very good one, but I'm from Tuscany.
But you obviously like this area, and this area likes you, because you've got a very busy place here. You've got a restaurant on the first floor.
Yes.
You've got the cafe bar on the ground floor.
Yes.
What was the idea of that, to give a...
when we started was to give it diversity. Then until lots of 100,000 people copied, then it's no more longer diversity. But it was, you know, when we started, I think it was one of the few places that you really could go, and if you wanted a snack, fine. If you wanted a restaurant, you go upstairs in a proper restaurant, you know, tablecloth and different surroundings. So it's okay.
Well, it's just what you want in the neighbourhood, really. But people come further than neighbourhood people here to eat. They come from across London. You've established that reputation over quite a long period of time.
It's very kind of you to say that.
Well, this is true. Talk me through some of the things on your menu.
Well, you know, we try to be totally Italian, really. I mean, as much as possible, you know. I mean, today we had some lovely ravioli with all the sort of, you know, the ends of the salami and all the rest, which really makes such a lovely tasty thing. Just with sage and butter was excellent. We do the normal thing like San Daniele ham with a little melon, which should be refreshing. We use beautiful mozzarellas. We do linguine, we do fettuccine, spaghetti, you know, but properly done, not you know, some really nice food. Also, we do ossobuco, we do chicken, we do liver, cow's liver, which has really been, it's very good actually. And then we do some slow-cooked stuff, which is beef cheek or pig's cheeks or things like that, saltimbocca. So we do a variety of things, and then we do a beautiful Milanese here, but it's a proper costoletta with the bone and everything. It's absolutely delicious, it really is. It's amazing, actually.
And what's that served with, saffron rice?
No, we are not so sort of French yet. We serve it with just a salad and a few potatoes and a wedge of lemon, but it's really delicious, actually. That's from the bar. The bar we do melanzana parmigiana. Sometimes I do lasagne, things like that. We also do linguine caldesi, which has been here for the last 11 years. It's the best-selling dish, you know, like 300 dish or 400 days a week, you know, we sell. And we have our own little niche, you know, our own little things. And the tiramisu, which is my own recipe for the last 22 years or so. It does extremely well as a dish. It's very good, beautiful pudding. Then we do bocconotti now. We also, because we travel quite a lot in Italy, we try to bring some new things, you know, new dishes whenever possible, and try to teach the chef how to cook it, which that's the most difficult thing. Everything is fine until you employ a chef. It's the actual conviviality of it and the life. It's a lifestyle. It's not a job.
I
think seriously, if you look at the money, sometimes the hours that you work, what you bother. But the theatre of it and the customer makes you. The adrenaline flows. More customers, more adrenaline. And so it's a show really. It's a theatre. Open air theatre, no lines, no script, just real life, and total real cock-ups many times. But with the smile, you can get along very well.
Sure. John Carlo, tell me about your wine list. It's not mainly Tuscan, is it?
No. The wine list actually is across Italy. It's absolutely fantastic. It contains all wine from Sicily, Sardinia, Piemonte, Tuscany, Umbria, Calabria. We try to do a sort of a round trip, you know, to give the different. Sometimes with the dishes, it's very good to pair it with the local wine, you know. Although, as I said, the wine that comes now is the real local wine. It's rather a little bit different, but at least it's from the terroir, which is meant to be. Sure. So we serve it. It's very nice. I like our wine list. It's very comprehensive, as Italian goes.
Yeah. So you obviously enjoyed travelling to find out about new dishes. It's obviously part of your life. Where do you go normally? Is it mainly Italy?
No, well, we wrote a few books, so we are writing another 2 books at the moment. One was regarding Amalfi, so we've been to Amalfi for 5-6 days, and we encountered so many beautiful people, restaurants, and they've been absolutely magic. They're really, I mean, magic people. They made us test their food, recipes. Nobody's asked for a penny, will you believe that? 15 dishes, they say, can I pay? No, goodbye, fine. So I was a revelation of it. And then the reality is the culinary art is a discovery every day. And I think people that love the job, they will never get bored really, because you've got ingredients. It's the actual raw material, which is brilliant. Then you've got equipment how to cook it, which you work till it doesn't sometimes, or forever. Then you got the most important part is the humans, which basically they make sure that becomes a cocktail of disasters, of happiness, of greatness. So you got all that to consider. Sometimes you're really great, and some other times got nothing on the plate.
That's the way it goes.
Yep. But that's life, you know, it's a life of a restaurateur, really.
How did you first get into the restaurant industry?
Well, I remember being 13 years old, being sent to work at the bar in Chianciano Terme. I was working 17 hours a day. Get up at 6 o'clock, go to bed at 12 o'clock.
So you had a bit of a hard upbringing?
No, it wasn't. No, not at all. No. It was wonderful. It was, you did what you had to do. It wasn't... Psychologically, it wasn't stressful. We had no drugs, no drinks, nothing. You go to work, you go to work. So now, I go to work, I don't care. It's fine. We work 1 hour, 18 hours, it's the same. So
it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
John Carlo, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Roy, it's a pleasure to know you.
Wolfgang, so good to see you in London.
Thank you.
Everyone knows of your exploits in America and in other parts of the world as well. Where did it all begin for you?
Well, it all really started in Austria. My mother was a chef in a hotel.
Okay.
And so when I was 12 or 13 years old, every summer I was cooking with her in this resort hotel in Austria, in Carinthia, in the southern part of Austria. And then when I was 14, I thought I wanted to become an architect. But there was no school where I grew up to be an architect, only in Vienna. So, and we didn't have the money to go to Vienna. And I also liked cooking, and especially I liked pastries. So I said, I'm going to become a pastry chef. Again, I couldn't find a job to work in a conditorei, as they call it, in a pastry shop. So then my mother found me a job in a hotel to be an apprentice in cooking. So when I was 14 years old, I left school, became an apprentice at the Hotel Post in Villach. and stayed there for 3 years. It didn't start really well, because the chef after 3 weeks fired me, and I thought I'm gonna jump into the river and kill myself, but I decided otherwise and said, I'm going back tomorrow. And so I went back the next day, and the chef wasn't there, but one of the apprentices hid me in the vegetable cellar. And I was peeling vegetables until 3 weeks later the chef comes down and sees me there and says, what are you doing here? I said, I cannot go home. And I said, I killed myself instead of going home. And so, sure enough, he had another hotel, and they sent me to the other hotel, and that I continued my apprenticeship for 3 years. And then I moved to France, worked in some of the great restaurants in France, like Maxime's in Paris, Lustre de Beaumanière in south of France, l'Hôtel de Paris in Monte Carlo, and La Réserve in Beaulieu. And after, when I turned about 24, I thought everybody in America drives a big car, they must all be rich there. I want to be rich too, so I went to America. And because I love auto racing, and since Monte Carlo we had the Grand Prix and so on, and I found a job in Indianapolis. And that's where I really started in America, because they have the big race there too in May. And after 1 year in Indianapolis, I said, you know, this is enough, because over there there was no culture about food and wine or anything like that, especially that was in the 70s.
Sure.
So then I got an offer in Los Angeles, and I moved to California, and I'm there ever since now for 35 years, 37 years.
Amazing. And Spargo was the first.
Yeah, Spargo I opened Spargo in 1982, so we are 30 years old now. And it became this instant success, because it was the first restaurant where we had an open kitchen. You could see all the chefs outside. I built a wood-burning fire and an oven and a wood-burning grill. So the food was very simple, like in Tuscany or like in south of France. A lot of grilled things. And I also made my own style of pizzas. You know, I made pizzas with smoked salmon and pizzas with truffles, and I had duck sausage and with fresh prawns. So they were really good ingredients, which you couldn't get at that time in America either. You couldn't get a good pizza or a good pasta. It was very difficult. So we made simple, really excellent food, and it became a huge success. And Swift de Lazare, who was this famous agent, did his Oscar party there, and we had all the big stars from the old one, like Elizabeth Taylor and Paul Newman. They all used to come. And the young ones, like Michael Jackson and Madonna, who were at that time at the beginning of their big careers.
Sure, sure. Well, you're known for your relationship with a lot of these famous people, and you're as famous as they are at these parties. So have you enjoyed that part of your life, this sort of intermingling with the celebrities?
Yeah, no, it was funny that I knew these people from the old time. Like, I was very good friends with Orson Welles, who used to come to Ma Maison already before I opened Spargo, and Billy Wilder, who was one of my all-time favorites, and Sidney Poitier, who is the godfather of my children. And now I know the young ones, like we just cooked at George Clooney's house, the dinner there for the president. He comes to the restaurant too. So I know the old ones, the young ones.
What happens when the stars come in the restaurant? Is there a sort of frisson, and people sort of all want to look and see what they're doing, or can you make them feel relaxed?
I think most of them love it because we make them feel comfortable. You know, we don't have paparazzis in the restaurant or taking pictures in the restaurant. They just feel like other people. And it's great that you know what they want, so it's easy for them. But I think they all feel comfortable, and at the end, you have to serve good food and good service. You know, that's really important, because I think if not, you have these fashionable restaurants which are famous for 2 weeks and then they're gone.
Sure.
And I think longevity is one of the things I'm the most proud of, because we are in business for 30 years.
Sure. Have you seen great changes in America with the cuisine?
You know, it's amazing. I think the United States, or like the big cities like New York, Los Angeles, it's a little bit like London, where 30 years ago you had to go to a very fancy French restaurant to get a decent meal. Now you have so many homegrown chefs. Like here in London, you have so many young chefs who are so talented and work hard and have great restaurants. And the same thing happened in America. When I got to America, cooking wasn't a profession. Now it's one of the most sought after professions. People become chefs instead of becoming lawyers or doctors. And I think our quality of restaurants has grown tremendously, and the public now knows how to eat. Because of television, I think people really know much more about food than they ever did. And I think we in America have made such great strides that you wouldn't recognize what happened 30 years ago.
Sure.
I mean, 30 years ago, sun-dried tomatoes was something very new. Goat cheese was something very new. And people say, wow, you have goat cheese. And, now we say, well, goat cheese, everybody has goat cheese.
What inspired you to make your own wine? Because I've tried it here and it's very good.
But I love wine. And I have a friend of mine, Fred Schrader, who owns one of the great vineyards and makes great wines. So years ago, I was talking to him and said, let's do a project together. And he said, yeah, whenever you're ready. And the years and years went by. And finally, in 2007, I said, you know what, we have to do something together. So I said, okay. He said, okay, so let's walk through the vineyard and you taste the grapes and you see what you like. So we did that. We walked through the vineyards and I found some grapes, some Bordeaux clone, some Cabernet clone, which I thought was really good because it had enough tannin in it and it wasn't overly sweet. It was just the perfect thing for me, small berries. So I thought that's going to be a good combination. And sure enough, when we made the first Cabernet, it came out fantastic.
Well, I've tasted it. It is fantastic.
Yeah, no.
Is it a big seller here?
It is a very big seller here. I think we can keep it in the house here. We sell much more here than we sell actually in California.
Oh, interesting.
And people seem to love it. I have people come here, that's all they get is my Cabernet.
Yeah. Wolfgang, thank you very much for sparing the time. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised really, because beer in restaurants, we've had that before, but beer in Indian restaurants, I suppose, is fairly traditional because everyone used to think of having a pint of beer or a pint of lager and a curry. Of course, it's not quite like that anymore. This isn't a place where you would associate the old-fashioned curry. This is a very special restaurant, a starred restaurant, in fact. So how come beer and why?
I think the whole idea started because every restaurant, irrespective of the cuisine they serve beer. And beer is associated even more with Indian restaurants, as you have seen. But when we looked at it, it was firstly that we had to serve beer, but the point was also we were sitting in a country that is traditionally known for its beer. We have more than 1,000 beer, and it was a shame that we did not use that to our advantage and showcased the beautiful beers we had. For example, I always say that when you order a glass of wine, you don't say, give me a glass of wine. You say, give me red, give me white. You say, I like it sweet, I like it dry, whatever. But sadly, in a beer country, we say, give me a pint.
Even this vintage beer here only started, I think, in 1996, Fuller's Brewery in London.
Right.
And in terms of lager breweries, we've had lots of big boys brewing lagers, some regionals, and no small boys. Now suddenly, the number of small boys has gone from about 100 to about 700. So the total number of breweries in Britain 10 years ago was 300, now we're 900. So there's mushrooming of all sorts of brewers.
You've obviously thought about the type of glasses you use to serve this beer. Is there any particular reason for that?
Beer has this whole image of being very masculine, and you know it's not it's too gassy, it's too fatty, and I think all that is wrong. But the perception, one of the key reasons for this perception is because the way it is served. It's a plum glass, tall glass, fully filled. So we said there is a little bit of fineness to be bought. There is a little bit of interesting way to serve it that we should do. For example, we serve this Liffman's. It's a fruit beer. Now when you serve it in a glass like that, it looks so beautiful, and also you could be drinking champagne, you know, and that is what it makes it look so beautiful. It also looks and also it becomes acceptable to a larger audience, and we have seen that the number of women who drink beer in our restaurant is much more than we have ever seen.
It always used to get me slightly. You go into a smart restaurant and they have 1,000, 2,000 wines ranging from £10 a bottle to £3,000 a bottle. And they've got 4 sorts of bread and they've got 2 sorts of butter, salted and unsalted. They've probably got 3 sorts of water, and yet they've just got 1 beer. And so way back sort of 8, 10 years ago when I went around restaurants, I find it real frightening aspect of our gastronomic understanding. And I just thought something's wrong. Here are we as a great farming country, we grow lots of hops, we grow lots of barley, we brew lots of beer, and yet we think that wine is smart, whiskey is smart, gin is smart, and beer is just pedestrian, working class and dull. So what I've been trying to do, I suppose, is starting to work with restaurants to actually say, come on, let's have a look at your food. With this food, here's 10 beers. This style of beer will go with that food. With the fish, that style. With your venison, that style. With your chocolate puddings, that style.
And it's worked for you here, obviously.
Yes, it works very well, and now I can say with confidence because we have done it for many years now, and we have seen how everybody's there to appreciate it. Just that we have to make sure we do it the right way, and we encourage them to try it.
Right.
And they will.
What are these 3 beers we have on the table here?
Now, this is a 312, which is from one of my favorite breweries, Goose Island from Chicago, which is a wheat beer. And then we have Anchor Steam, which is from San Francisco. And then we have Blue Moon, which is an orange beer and coriander in it. And the reason that we wanted to show this beer is because I think there is a lot of influence from the British brewing industry to everywhere in the world, including America. And it's very interesting to see how they have pushed this whole craft brewery. For example, when you have a 312, it does not taste like a wheat beer at all, as in everybody expected it to be cloudy, heavy and all that, and they've just shown how you can make one without having all those aspects and have it light, fun, refreshing. And same thing with Blue Moon, you expect it to be something very odd, or how can that be? And when you drink, you see it's so balanced. So it's very interesting, and for me, it just shows how you can take beer to its limit, or push from what we all think it is its limit, and that's why American beers are of great interest to me, and that's why we just thought we should share that.
Thank you. The McCoy brothers have been running the Cleveland Tontine Hotel and Restaurant since 1976. Together with Chef Simon Wally, they like to offer familiar comfort food, but with just a touch of something new, and you can always be sure they'll give you a good breakfast.
We have a sort of rustic style with some nice sort of fine edges. We live in an area where we sell a lot of steak. We sell a lot of dishes we've had before, a lot of oysters and things like that. So we balance the menu as best we possibly can to give people something new, nice cutting-edge tastes with the rustics which we've done before. But we still give great atmosphere, good service, I think, good food that people enjoy. To me, it's a package. It always has been a package for people, and that's why a lot of people come here. I want to get the balance where the gentleman or the lady can have whatever they want and what suits them for them to be comfortable when they come out for dinner. Because, a lot of people, they save up a lot of money to come out here. So I want to be able to turn around and say if they want a prawn cocktail or they want seafood pancake or they want some oysters and a steak, they can have it. If they want something which is a little bit more upmarket, I've got it there for them as well.
I like to keep it comfortable. I like to keep the food looking new but still have a wholesome plate of food. A lot of the inspirations come from trying to think outside the box and knowing what people like. You've got to know that people will at some point like goat cheese. What we try and do here is just do it a little bit differently. So we have 2 domes of goat cheese. We scoop out the centre and fill it with dehydrated black olives that we blitz up with a little bit of olive oil to make a paste, and then we put that in the centre, so when you cut open the goat cheese you have a nice little black centre of olives. It's laid on a sheet of tomato, so it's a tomato jelly that we make, set it with agar almost as the base of the plate, and then we assemble the dish on top. So there's heirloom tomatoes, different colours, black Russians, so on and so forth. The goat cheese, 2 domes stuck together, and a few deep fried goat cheese balls as well. So we try and work on different textures and tastes, and it's a local goat cheese, so we don't want to mess around with it too much. We want to keep the flavours. We're very lucky around here in the fact that we've got quite a lot of good local lamb. So Again, it comes back to the fact that I like to give people a plate of food, confit belly, roast sweetbreads with Pedro Jimenez vinegar, a roast loin, and a crispy cube of lamb neck. We braise the lamb neck overnight, pick the meat down, and then set it into a tray, cut it out and pan it and deep fry it. So it's 4 different textures of lamb on the plate, Pedro Jimenez treacle and some artichokes. There's 4 different ways of cooking on one plate, so it gives them something that they wouldn't normally order, because if you say to somebody, oh, lamb neck, they're not that interested. If you tell them, oh, lamb belly, no, I'm not that interested. Sweetbreads, certainly not. But if you can give it to them on the plate and let them try them and taste them how they're supposed to be cooked, it opens people's eyes a little bit more to what can be done with food, and that they can like other parts of the animal other than the prime cuts. So we have to be a bit smart about it, really. The lemon posset, that's just a classic. It's one of those classic English dishes, so it should be a nice kind of just set kind of creme brulee consistency, just with a raspberry jelly on top, raspberry sorbet, meringues, fresh raspberries. It's a very nice looking dish and tastes very nice, obviously for the weather.
It's just interesting. It's not. We don't want it to be bland. We want people to come in and get a bit of a buzz when they walk in the door and say, that's a bit different, you know. And thus, the bedrooms are now exactly like that and a little bit mad. But everything works now. The water works and the shower works and, you know, the drainage works with all the expenditure we put into this place. I still do breakfast on the morning. If people stay with me, the last thing they eat is breakfast. Sometimes they might have had too much crug or shut out too early on the night before and remember the food, but still feel a bit hazy, you know what I mean? But on the morning, that's why I always say to everybody, breakfast is so important. Good breakfast is very important before you go, because that's the last food they eat. I don't want people to sit in the same room as what they did the night before, because it just doesn't make sense. I want to have a room that's a little bit lighter, a little bit airier. It's totally different. And then it gives them another aspect of your business, where you are. I can sit with people on a morning after the night before, and I get more comments about how they enjoy the service, the food or whatever, in a cold light of day, because some people just say it's great when it's maybe not, you know, because it's night time, they're enjoying themselves. The next day you get a good opinion. So I like that. I might be a bit foolish getting up early in the morning, things like that, but I think that's part of my business. That's what I should be doing. And a lot of people look forward to breakfast when they come here, and I think I like that, because, you know, they say they've had a great dinner, now we're looking forward to a great breakfast. And for them to walk out that reception and say to me, they didn't just have a good night's sleep, have a good dinner and a good party, they had a great breakfast. That's the package again. So to me, I go back to the package. It's about everything. That's what it's about.
As you may know, what we do with the cookery books is to imagine we're in a shop and we don't particularly know what we want to buy. We're in there, we're looking at something, we pick it up because it's got a nice cover, and all 3 books today have, and we then make a quick decision. Do we want to buy it? Don't we want to buy it? How much does it cost? And we make our way to the till and we make a quick decision. Well, I have 2 younger people with me today, keeping in the family, Lily Ackerman and Patrick Bolton. And they are both keen cooks. I know, Patrick, you're particularly interested in food, so I'm interested to know which of these books you're going to pick, because at the end of about 5 minutes, you're going to have to make a decision of which one you want of these 3 cookery books. I'm going to cheat, because Penguin Books have very kindly sent me press releases of these latest 3 books that they're bringing out, so I know all about it. But I also do know a bit about the people that are writing it. So we're going to start off with Barafino, because I know the Hart brothers, and I know their parents as well, which is rather good. But Sam and Eddie have made quite a impact on the London restaurant scene. And Barafino, one of their tapas bars, they're quoted as being the best tapas in London. Yeah. So tell me about this book.
This book's fantastic because it takes you through from the very basics to quite complex dishes in a very simple fashion, and it's sort of tapas that you can do at home. And it's great for sharing and loads of people, and yeah, quite easy to do, some of it, I think.
Well, I love the idea of eating my fingers. I think there's nothing nicer than having a drink and having something to sort of pick up or just put a fork into and have a taste. Have you looked at this one, Patrick?
I've had a look, yeah.
What's your feeling about this?
Well, it's great you can get so many flavours going. That's what's interesting, especially when you're entertaining. It's just so nice to be able to give it such a rich array of flavours and just be able to do that.
Sure.
So this book gives you so many opportunities to do it, which is fantastic.
And could you cook from this book?
I think they're good, yeah. It's very simple. They give you the dishes how they want to look, how you want to present them, so I think it's fantastic.
According to Sunday Times, Sam and Eddie Hart are the UK's tapas maestros, and Giles Corrin, no less, said Barafino is a tapas bar and the best of its kind. The food is fantastic. So let's hope this can inspire you. Second book we're going to look at is by Felicity Clark, who of course writes for The Guardian. Sweet little book this, I enjoyed glancing through this. What was your opinion of it?
I haven't had a very long look at this book, but I do like the idea that it's a smaller cookery book, so it's not overwhelming. You've only got 68 things that you can do in here, and it's really nicely presented. It's not as visual as some of the others, so it's not all about the photography, but it's a very sweet, easy to follow book. Nice.
Well, I think this takes following from what she does in The Guardian, so I think this is sort of a bit of this, and some of this I think you've read in The Guardian. But it's interesting stuff, isn't it?
It's written in a friendlier fashion, so there are little stories to go along which illustrate the dishes that she's making, along with quite sweetly little tips and things like that for purpose.
What's your view on this one, Patrick?
Well, I like how selective it is, because you can often find you want to make something and you've got all these recipes that are telling you different things to do, and this is actually already selected 68 exactly how to make the best one of them.
So it makes it easier for you?
It makes it easy, exactly. It's there, you know to follow this one, you've got the book there just all to do it. So that's fantastic.
And you could cook from this?
I think I could.
And it's nice, it's a bit smaller. It's perfect. User-friendly size. All right, let's move on to the last, which is by Margot Henderson. Margot is the wife of Fergus Henderson, of St John's fame, and we've seen books by him before, and we know what a great cook he is. I like this one. Tell me more about this one.
Well, the idea of this one is it's all about entertaining, and it's the practicalities of entertaining. So you might be entertaining for a small group, and what's really good is it's going to tell you exactly how to do it practically. And one of my favourite things about food is the fact that you're actually bringing people together and feeding them, and it's about, you know, how you're going to do that to get it right and get the people together and make it work.
So it's more than just a recipe?
More than just a recipe, that's the key thing about it.
Awesome.
Well, I love the title of You're All Invited, which is Margot's recipes for entertaining. I've not really looked at it in too much detail, but I flipped through and it seems to cover most things from bread all the way through to desserts.
And it's also covering things from breakfast to dinner and all the sort of occasions. It's really thinking about what the nature is around food, how you're doing it, you know, what the sort of feeling of a meal is. And it's covered all of that as well, and I think that's the best thing about it.
Also, I think it's important to point out these are recipes that are aimed to a larger group of people, so it is very much for dinners or for families. So, for example, this serves 10, this serves 8.
It's great how they actually break it up. For example, with recipe, you can serve 410, 420, and what they'll actually do is, you know, notes on scaling up these things. They'll tell you things to actually bear in mind if you're increasing the percentages, for example. You know, extra things you need to think about. So it's just a really practical book.
Okay, guys. Well, now the difficult part comes along. We've got a limited budget, and you can buy one of these books each because that's all you can afford. I guess we should give you first chance. Which one are you going to buy?
I'm going to go for Barafina.
You are?
Yes, because I love Spanish food. I feel like you could experiment with textures and flavours very easily. It covers a whole range of different things, from puddings to starters, tapas, you've got paella, and I feel like I would use this a lot.
Okay,
so, yeah.
You made your choice. Well done. Lucky girl. What would you go for, Patrick?
I'm going to go
There's only these two left, I'm afraid.
I'm going to go for You're All Invited, which would be my choice anyway. Because I think it's just great whenever you're entertaining. You can think you want to make a dish, you've got a new occasion, a new amount of people, for example. And this is just really good for letting you show you can really put it off, what you need to do to put it off. So I'm going to go for this one.
So you're going to go for Margot Henderson. Well, I'm glad I've got this one because I'm rather intrigued by this. Felicity Clark is a great writer anyway. I'm looking forward to ploughing through some of these recipes myself, but I am going to say that I want this book back from both of you because I like the look of Margot Henderson in particular, and Barafino. I can't wait to try some of these. So thank you, Penguin Books, for delivering these to us. It's very kind of you to let us see some of your new releases, and if you've got something else interesting for us to see, send them along for our next programme.
This is lamb, which is Cumbrian lamb. And what we do is we marinate it for at least 3 days with some spices. Basically, we've got cumin, coriander, cinnamon, and saffron.
That's quite an array of spices.
It is, but I want quite a high flavour there. Yeah. It's a fairly North African style dish.
Yeah.
We tried a few things. First, we started off actually with garlic and saffron. Yeah. But the garlic was a little bit too abundant. It was a bit too much. So we took the garlic out and then started adding a few other spices. And I wanted something quite North African. So the first thing was we did cumin and cinnamon, and then it progressed a little from there. Right. But the rest of the dish, we have a sauce which is made up with chopped chickpeas. Chickpeas and a mix of Egyptian spices called dukkha. Some nuts, lots of spices, coconut and chili. So it's got a little warmth to it.
I'm not familiar with dukkha.
Yeah, it's a D-U-K-K-A. Yeah, and that's in there along with the chopped chickpeas. So what I've done, I've already poached the lamb, so we just poached it very quick for about 6 minutes in a water bath. First of all, just to
slow poached.
So slow poached and then roasted. So we want to get that nice roast, and what you want to do is get the nice flavour of the spices roasted into it as well. So, and the reason that we leave it for three days, apart from tenderising the meat, is that you get the spices really impregnate the meat as well. Right. So you get the flavour of those spices goes right deep inside the meat. We have a lamb sauce.
Yep.
And then we have our chickpeas and our dukkha, and I just put the sauce onto that.
So is that just a reduction of the lamb juice?
Well, it's a lamb jus, yeah. It's a lamb sauce made up with the lamb bones and a little lamb stock. The rendered lamb fat from the breast of the lamb, and we put that in, and that really enforces the lamb flavour. It gives it a little bit of body as well. So we're just about there now.
And how long do you rest the lamb for?
So I rest the lamb for 4 minutes.
Yeah. Very important, that isn't it?
Absolutely.
Even with a dish with a sauce like this, you've got to...
Even whenever you roast a piece of meat or fish, for that matter, in a pan that's that hot, there's always going to be a tension. So you're always going to push and force the fat, the blood and the juices to the centre of the meat.
Sure.
And even if it's poached already, you've still got to allow it to rest and relax, and for those juices to come back throughout the proteins.
Sure.
Very important. Carrying on with that sort of Mediterranean, North African type of dish, we have a tzatziki, grated cucumbers.
Yeah.
So we've grated them coarsely, and we've salted them. So we put some Maldon salt and then some sherry vinegar on there.
So that's a coarse cucumber rather than a cool cucumber.
It's a very cool coarse cucumber. That's even better. And some mint in there as well. A little bit of mint. And then I'm just putting some Greek yogurt, just enough to bind the cucumber together. Okay. Nice quenelle of this on. It's really refreshing. Some quenelle of that on the plate.
Mm-hmm.
Some smoked aubergine puree. So what we do is we roast the aubergines whole.
Yeah.
And then take the flesh out of it. We drain the flesh out so that all of the liquid comes off, and then we smoke it over oak chips.
A lot of work goes into this, huh?
A lot of work goes into most of the dishes, but it's, you know, when you taste it at the end, you realise that all of these things come together, and so it's well worth it. This is the breast of lamb that we render to make the fat. We also take some of it and we poach it until it's very tender, and then we roast it so that you've got a crackling, a lamb crackling. Yeah, which is a little bit different.
It is indeed.
But very tasty. So we put the sauce. You can see that it's got some body in there now.
Absolutely.
And, and then the lamb. But I always think that lamb should be cooked a little more than rare.
Sure.
I'm not a fan of rare lamb. It needs to be on the way to medium, I believe. Season that with a little flake salt, a little Maldon salt. So what you've got is a nice fresh piece of lamb. You've got a little bit of the slow braised. It's actually cooked in a pressure cooker, which gives it the same consistency as a nice slow braised piece of meat. And we've got the There's chickpeas and the dukkha. There's a little chilli in there as well, so you've got a nice little bit of warmth along with the coolness of the cucumber. It's nice and refreshing. So I'll just finish it off with a little coriander cress.
Well, this is interesting stuff, isn't it? Because it actually tastes of something. It's
does.
just not a garnish. It actually is part of the dish.
Well, I believe that whatever you put on the plate should enhance the dish. There's no point in putting something on just for an aesthetic appeal. And there are a lot of those little micro cresses and herbs around that look fantastic, but absolutely either taste of nothing or don't taste very nice.
Sure.
Whereas the coriander cress, yeah, absolutely, it's almost supercharged coriander, isn't it?
Did it take you long to work out that combination?
No, it was one of those work in progress things. You know, we did start off with the more basic marinades, and we started off just with chickpeas in the sauce, and we added the dukkha to it afterwards. So the basic elements were there: the cucumber, the smoked aubergine, the lamb. The piece of braised lamb came after as well. So we started off with 3 basic elements, and then just sort of made it up from there. Yeah.
And this is on your tasting menu?
So this is the lamb on our tasting menu, yes.
Terrific. And it's called?
Lamb with tzatziki, chickpeas and dukkha.
Cool cucumber.